Welcome to our continuation of derivation of trig ratios in the four quadrants of a circle. In our first and second videos, we gave explanations and also showed why the trig ratios are the way they are in the first and in the second quadrant. For today's video, we will be looking at the trig ratios in the third quadrant, and we would also know why a particular trig ratio is positive and the rest are negative. If you had missed any of our previous videos, please do well to look up those videos, watch them to the end. All the explanations you need to understand what we are doing today, they are all there. So let's go together. Now, this is the first, the second, and the third quadrant. So we are looking at an angle alpha. Remember, angles are measured from the positive x-axis. So we have an alpha, that moves from here, it stops here. So alpha is way greater than 180 degrees, but it's less than 270. So it falls in the third quadrant. I told us in previous videos, the quadrants are numbered in an anti-clockwise manner, beginning from the positive x-axis. So first, second, and third. So alpha is here. Now, if you look at the tables, if you pick up your log tables or whichever trig tables, you discover that the tables start from 0 degrees and then stops at 89 degrees. So if you have any value that is outside that particular range, it's difficult to get the trig ratio. So this will help you know. If, for example, you want to look up the trig ratio for an angle, say 231 degrees, okay, maybe sine of 231 degrees or cosine, what we are going to do here would help you know what to do to be able to pick up the values, even though the angle is not directly listed in the table for you, okay? So let's do this. Now, like I said, alpha starts from here, it stops here. Now, there is an angle, an acute angle, theta here, that we shall use to generate all the trig ratios for angle alpha. So how do we know this value for for theta rather? What we are going to do will be the value for alpha minus 180 degrees, okay? This will give you what? Theta. Very important. Alpha minus 180 degrees will give you theta. Theta is that acute angle that you would use to read up the values, the sine, the cosine, and tangent of alpha from the trig table. Okay, so this is what you do. Alpha, whatever is the value of alpha minus 180, whatever you have is theta. So this theta is what we would use. Okay, having said so, let's come over here. Now, we are looking at the sine of theta. Remember, sine is opposite of our hypotenuse from Asoka to here. Okay? So, let's do that. We are now in the third quadrant. So, sine theta will be equals to, we can call it sine alpha if you so desire. But take note, when we say theta, we are referring to the trig ratios of alpha. Take note about that. So, sine theta will be equals to opposite, which is PQ, opposite over hypotenuse, which is what? OP, okay? And if you figure that at opposite PQ, we've entered the negative terrain or negative regime of the y-axis because the value here is below the x-axis. You know, values of y below the x-axis are all negative. So PQ is a minus y. Okay, OP, that's the radius, is a constant, it stays the same. So negative value divided by positive value. That is why sine of alpha will be negative, because alpha falls in the third quadrant, okay? So we go for cos theta. Cosine, remember, from SOHCAHTOA to a cosine adjacent over hypotenuse. What's adjacent? That will be side OQ. So we have OQ adjacent over hypotenuse, still OP. Now in OQ, we are in the negative segment of the x-axis. So OQ is minus x. While OP, okay, hypotenuse is still what? R. So again, a negative value divided by positive value, the overall result here is negative. That is why cos theta would also be negative in the third quadrant. And lastly, we go for tan theta. Remember, we are using theta to get the trig ratios for alpha because alpha is bigger than what is listed in the trig tables, okay? So we go tan opposite over adjacent. That will be PQ over what? OQ. So we now have PQ over what? OQ. And what's PQ? PQ is a minus y. What's OQ? OQ is a minus x. So you discover negative divided by negative, okay? The negative sign simply do away, leaving us with what? A y over x. That is why in the third quadrant, only tan is positive. That is why tan is the only positive ratio you will have in the third quadrant. So we can write that only what? Only tan theta, okay, is what? Is positive. Take note. Very important, okay? So do well to follow, like, and share our videos for more. In the next video, we'll derive the trig ratios in the fourth quadrant. Thank you.